Something big, bold.
May I suggest the Benelli M4? Custom bolt carrier release and charging handle. Textured grips, should your hands get wet. An Italian classic.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Match Grade Podcast. My name is Ed, you probably already know. Back by popular demand is Butch, our resident shotgun instructor and the creator for the Shotgun Master Program.
Hello, everybody.
So, Butch, what are we doing tonight?
Talking shotguns. What makes a good home defense shotgun compared to other styles of shotgun?
Cool. All right, so Butch, home defense shotguns versus other shotguns. Like, what makes, a home defense shotgun a home defense shotgun?
Sure. Sporting shotguns versus home defense shotgun. A lot of it comes down to barrel length, ammo capacity. Your home defense shotgun is going to hold as many rounds as you can get in it, generally somewhere around at least 5, 6, 7 rounds, maybe a couple of more.
Mm-hmm.
Your sporting shotguns, whether it's for the style of competition that you're participating in or actual hunting, they'll limit the number of rounds. Most of your waterfowl stuff, you're only allowed to shoot 3 rounds. You're only allowed to have 3 rounds in the shotgun.
Right.
So getting as much ammo capacity and then barrel length.
Yeah, some of those sporting shotguns are what, 24, 28?
28, 24 inches, which is great when you're trying to reach out and touch those birds. But when you're trying to move around the house or defend yourself, it's just extra length that you don't need. You can get around it. So if you have one and that's your only option for home defense shotgun, that's okay. But it's better utilized having a little bit slighter, shorter barrel. Somewhere around like a 16 or maybe even an 18-inch barrel. You're in much better case.
So before we even talk about home defense setups for our shotguns, just make sure you guys are, working with the right tool. Obviously, use whatever's available, for you guys. But ideally, we're talking, 16, 18-inch of barrel length, plus plenty of ammo capacity. And we'll go into that in a little bit.
Another advantage you can think of when it comes to shotguns, pump shotguns especially, but shotguns in general, when you're living in a state that is not super gun friendly or traveling through, the pump shotgun is much less kind of intimidating factor to people that aren't necessarily comfortable around guns.
Mm-hmm.
It's less assuming, especially if you have just your old walnut beautiful wood furniture on it. Like it's not quite as big of a deal and not offensive to people, that kind of stuff.
I would argue that there are a ton of TV and movie bad guys, who would say the racking of that pump shotgun is the most intimidating,
It can be an attention getter.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna depend my life on it, but it'll get your attention, yeah. One classification difference that you can come up with right off the bat is deciding whether you want to have a pump shotgun or a semi-auto shotgun. Obviously, having a semi-auto shotgun where one pull of the trigger fires the round, ejects the spent casing, loads another one for you, does it all for you. It's nice. It gets you closer to that kind of carbine-ish feeling. And that can be a spot where people start to fail right away, is don't treat the shotguns like it's a carbine. It's a totally different animal all its own. But semi-autos are nice. You can throw a lot of rounds downrange real quick, as opposed to a pump shotgun where you're running the action yourself. It has its drawback that it can be a little slower. However, much more reliable due to the fact that you're running the action and not the gun. So the semis can be sometimes a little picky with the ammo that you choose to run through it. It likes to have a certain amount of force, we'll call it, like feet per second, and the load, that kind of thing. Pump shotgun, you can run just about anything. Real light loads for training or introducing new people to shotguns, all the way up to full house loads that you're trying to defend your home with. Yeah.
So I was going to say, with I mean, we could have an entire debate till the cows come home about semi versus pump. But like you were saying, a lot of the errors, you know, that might occur with the semis is mechanically induced, whereas with a pump, you know, it's probably you who's doing something wrong. Like you might short stroke it, or you might, you know, have a, you know, failure to eject, or, you know, something like that. But that's usually user induced, you know, rather than
very much so. Yeah. You can run into the mechanical malfunctions with a semi. There's ways of clearing it. The pump is generally so reliable, much like a revolver, that if it gets locked up, then you really are stuck. But it mostly won't get locked up.
It takes a lot of effort to do that. Yeah. All right. Cool. There are other types of shotguns, guys, that are out there. We mentioned, you know, the sporting shotguns, double barrel. There's a couple of lever action, like, you know, mare's legs and things like that are out there. Use what's available to you guys. These are just our setups, and semi versus pump. Those are the two most popular that you're probably going to find available.
You can also come across bolt action shotguns too.
Oh, get out. Really?
I had a friend that had a bolt action shotgun that he hunted with for a long time.
I want one of those.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
All right, cool. So guys, we did bring a couple of our shotguns to show you our setups. For our semis, we do, ironically, Butch and I have the exact same gun. Slightly different setups. We have our Beretta 1301s, semi-automatic shotguns, arguably one of the best on the market. And then Butch was kind enough in order to bring in his pup, which is a
Mossberg 500.
Okay.
I enjoy it. I like the top mounted safety, but it really is just a bare bones, pretty simplistic pump shotgun. We can get into the discussion as to what kind of extra stuff you want to put on your gun to make it more conducive to what you're trying to do with it in the home defense role. But pump or semi, as long as it's reliable, you're starting off on a real good foot.
Any final thoughts on pump semi or others?
I would stick with a pump or a semi. I wouldn't, if I have the choice, I wouldn't go for a brake action or a bolt action. Honestly, if you have a lever action, I wouldn't mind that either. That could be pretty good. You could probably run a lever action just as good and just as fast as a pump shotgun. The way that the mechanism operates, it probably isn't as top tier reliable as a pump shotgun, but maybe I'm a little biased. I don't think that there's much in the firearms world that is as reliable as a Remington 870 or a Mossberg 500 pump shotgun. They're tanks. They hit hard and they run reliable all the time.
Plus, they have a tried and true history with police, with military, civilians. So they're out there. The design hasn't changed all that much. Maybe some cosmetic stuff, some furniture, you know, here or there to make it a little bit more user friendly. But you know,
and with them being so prevalent for so long, you can often find a pretty good deal on it, on like a police trade-in, that kind of stuff. And especially something like shotguns, I wouldn't hesitate buying used.
Yeah,
they run so good and reliable for so long, you can't go wrong with it.
Shotguns, if you guys don't know, are what Butch calls thinking man's, you know, kind of guns. And the kind of running theme with that is that they are hungry hippos.
They are hungry beasts.
They have to be kept fed, and there's a couple of different ways that we do that, right?
The first one is getting a mag tube as long as you can get so that you can carry as many rounds in the gun as possible. When we're talking any kind of long gun, in this case shotguns, and we're putting it in the role of a home defense kind of scenario, when you're at home and you're relaxed, you're kind of in that lower part of the kind of yellow tier, maybe even into condition white, where you're not really expecting problem. So when and if the fight comes, you're fighting with whatever is in the gun or on the gun.
Right.
So the more rounds I can have in the gun, the better. That would be honestly the first upgrade that I would do, is get any kind of extended mag tube so that I can get more rounds in it. The next 2 mods that I would go for almost right away would be a way to carry spare ammo. On the gun is preferable. If you wanted to have some kind of a bag that just kind of sits in the safe next to the gun that you can grab and go real quick, that's not bad. But it's so cheap to order some of these elastic shell carriers. Just grab them off the internet. Nothing funnier than going to the fabric store with your wife, trying to explain to people that you would like some Velcro for the side of your shotgun. You're not even there for your wife. The Velcro side saddles are real nice. You can rip them off and replace it with a new one, so you can have extras in your pocket. Makes it really nice on the range, and then they're good in the home. I won't rip it off because it'll be super loud on camera.
I like the fact that this one has a loop on it, so that, you know, if you have to, you can rip it off right away, you know, and replace it and slap a new, you know, one on there if you had to. So that's pretty cool and easy to do.
And also, I could just put this Velcro on the side of all my shotguns and just use the same cards. Same shotgun cards for each. What do you do anything different?
I do the exact same setup that you do with mine. Again, same thing with the Velcro cards. One additional thing that I do, you know, which is up for debate about its merits and stuff, is I put a 1-round match saver on the side of my shotgun. Originally designed for sporting purposes. If you miss, you know, that one shot, you have one extra that can be loaded into the chamber. This is kind of the, hey, I didn't realize how much ammo was in the gun. I found myself into an emergency situation. And in this, you know, kind of situation, you know, locked open and empty, it's pretty easy to load it very quickly. Now you're ready to rock and roll. But again, something that would have to be done aftermarket, and you know, it isn't the easiest thing to install. Now, but you use a shell carrier for a different purpose though, right? For a slug select.
So I like having things like that, either the match savers or there's a new one that I forget the name of, but it's a stock and you can fit 4 or 5 rounds in the stock. I like using those options that are in a totally different spot on the gun to put different rounds like a slug. Most of the time I suggest and I use just good quality buckshot, and that's what I'll load the side saddle with. But if I have an option to put another round in the stock or like a match saver kind of thing that's kind of separate, and I have to be deliberate in choosing that one, that's a good spot for putting a slug. Depending if you're in the city or
right
in a little village or whatever, maybe a slug's not that great. Shooting a slug through a shotgun is kind of like putting a bulldozer in low gear. It's just going. But if you're out in the country a little bit, you're a little bit outside of town like I am, where home intruders, or maybe just a coyote has decided to come across the creek and go after the dogs or something like that, it's nice to have a 1 projectile slug to be able to have that option to load in there.
What the hell is a crick?
A creek.
It's a creek.
Listen, dude, when you come from the country where I am, it's a crick.
Ugh.
Yeah. Maybe it's because everybody's pronouncing it without any teeth in their mouth, but it's a crick.
2 hours later.
So bottom line, guys, you know, side saddles, great things for holding extra shells, whether it is Velcroed on and you just want to rip it, or whether it's hard mounted onto the action or the stock of your shotgun. Just find a way to have extra ammo. You'd be surprised how quickly you will run through shotgun ammunition, and loading a shotgun is just a skill in and of itself.
That's what makes or breaks a good shotgun shooter, is loading.
Absolutely.
The Velcro ones are really nice. They're a nice cheap option. The hard mounted ones, they work fine, and if that's what you got, cool. they sometimes tend to wear out over time, and now you're having to unscrew and unbolt and get into some very minor gunsmithing to get a new one on. There is kind of a hybrid one from Aerodice Industries that has a hard mounted plate, and then there are hard cards that are removable and swappable.
Oh, that's cool.
So
I haven't seen that.
They'll fit in like M4 pouches. They'll fit in your pocket, and so push of a button, it pops out, kind of like reloading an AK, but not. And so then the hard mounted part that's on the gun stays right there. And if those spring tensions or anything like that wear out, you can just toss those out and get new ones. You also can swap out when you're at the range, that kind of stuff. You're doing a class, it's nice to have a whole bunch of these loaded up.
Yep.
So you can go up to the line, put a couple in your pocket, and then go. You don't need much more than a couple, because after that, you don't feel like shooting that much.
I don't know about you. I'd buy these by the dozen,
Yeah.
just in case, the elastic starts to go a little bit, and then you can just, swap out a new one. So
Or if you're in Shotgun Master and somebody makes you do one of those high round count Rolling Thunder drills.
Rolling Thunder drills.
Yeah.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it.
What
We'll
did they
talk
call
about
it?
that.
Super Rolling Thunder? I forget what I named it.
I don't know. I was deaf after the, first round, so it doesn't matter at that point. All right, so the second most important second item, about shotguns is lights, because it sucks to fight in the dark.
Number one, getting as much ammo in or on the gun. Number two, you got to be able to identify what it is you're shooting at.
PID.
It's the responsibility factor, and also a good quality white light, super bright, can be a deterrence tool. Can get you to a point where not only can you identify what it is that is a potential threat, but you also can perhaps persuade them into, hey, how about you just leave and we don't have to get into this gunfight, because that would be much more preferable.
Right.
And a good white light can help out that. My favorite method is the one that I put on the pump shotgun. This is a Surefire 4, and it's a little bit older one. And if you're knowledgeable at all about it, you may look at this light and think, boy, that doesn't look like the light that comes with it. It's not. It just happened to be another Surefire that I had. I tried it. It fit. It's way brighter. It's a little bit bigger, but I like having it on the pump itself, on the fore end. The activation, you can click on, click off. You can do momentary. I advise just clicking on and leave it on kind of thing. But it keeps it very streamlined. I like having it right underneath the barrel. It's my preferred. But a lot of them, other than that, you can't really get them in that position. So you end up having to mount them on the side like this. This is another Surefire. It mounts into this pick rail that has like these M-lock slots that already come on the gun. Then you just end up having to run a little cable management to some kind of a switch on the side or on the top. Still accomplishes the same goal. I like it a lot, but you got to be able to PID. You have in Enforce, what is that?
It's a Vortex.
A Vortex.
ML50. So I haven't had a whole lot of luck with cables and push buttons and things like that. So I have just mine hard mounted on the left side, of the M-lock rail. And this way, when I'm engaging with my support hand, I can just hit that switch as necessary. Just because you got a great setup, with a wrap and everything, but I just feel like cables and wires and things like that, they'll get fouled eventually exactly when I need it most. It'll catch on me. I might catch my finger on it, so I kind of did away with all of that. So again, similar type of setup. This is a couple thousand lumens, which is more than enough in order to both PID and to illuminate your assailant. And just make sure that it's comfortable and in a location that you can actuate it properly.
Don't be afraid to spend some decent money on lights and optics and stuff like that, and really pay close attention to witness marking your screws, stuff like that. The wonderful part about shotguns is they're just throwing so much force downrange.
Yep.
The bad part about shotguns is they're throwing so much force towards you and towards all of your gear. And it's only a matter of time if you're not up on the maintenance where stuff starts falling off. You run risks when you're running cable management kind of stuff. You run the risk of now all of a sudden those little connections, they start to get beat up by the shotgun.
Absolutely.
Yep.
The other thing you want to maintain is that as you shoot or as you practice with your light on your shotgun, there is going to be a whole lot of smoke and lead that's going to be coming back. So once in a while, make sure you do wipe that shotgun bulb, much so than you might see on a rifle or a light on a pistol or something like that. So, make sure, when you actuate that light, all of a sudden it's not so bright. Oh, that's right. I haven't cleaned the bulb of that shotgun light in over 10,000 rounds. So
10,000 rounds to your shotgun. It's a good start.
it's a good start to get into Masters anyway.
That's right. Next up, to consider putting on your shotgun. Now we're getting into the realm of you maybe don't need it, but it's kind of nice.
When you need it and don't have it, you sing a different tune.
Red dots are on everything. I got them on shotguns. I got them on rifles. There's very few things that I shoot that don't have a red dot on it. It's good for anybody. It's good for everybody. It's good for new shooters. It's good for experienced shooters. All that.
But Butch, isn't there the argument out there that the shotgun, it has such a big blast and spread pattern anyway, and the ranges that you're using it, you wouldn't need a dot.
Yeah, that shit. Oh, sorry. Nope. Have to aim a shotgun, even if you're using something like buckshot. One, the spread at the distances we're talking about are not that large. Even if they are, you are responsible for every projectile that goes out of your gun, whether they're coming 9 pellets from one trigger press or 1 ball from one trigger press. You're still responsible. Also, if you're so far away that spread is getting out that wide where you don't really have to aim and you're hitting them with something, you're not going to hit them with all of them. So you got to have a predictable pattern. It doesn't have to be super small pattern, but you want it to be predictable. And along with that, you need to be aiming. So you can run just a bead sight. I know this one has a red dot on it, but it went for a long time. Just this tiny little gold bead. I don't even know if you can see it on camera. Tiny little gold bead, and you just kind of settle it on top. And people have been using that for years, and it's good. It's quick. It's fast. It is pretty cheap and pretty quick to get an extra like big dot sight or something like that. You can just mount right over that.
Yeah,
makes
like
it a little bit nicer.
Optic,
You could do fiber optic kind of thing. But your next step would be putting some kind of optic on it, whether you have to mount a rail on top of it like this one, or if you can get a different setup, like on my Beretta, that has just a different style of mount that keeps it real nice and low. And then they can end up co-witnessing it with iron sights, that kind of stuff. Again, get a good quality one, maintain it, witness mark your screws. It's going to beat that up. Thankfully, nowadays, the red dots, the electronics in it are pretty good at holding up to the force of a shotgun. But that doesn't mean you don't have to watch out for the screws backing out and stuff like that.
Right.
You can use a fully enclosed emitter like that one there.
Yep. So the one that is attached to my Beretta is a Bushnell TS50, I think. And the reason is because this one used to be on my rifle, but I trust it because it went all through Shotgun Masters last year. It's got a gigantic window, but it also allows me to co-witness with my ghost ring and my front sights. And I know this thing is tried and true and can take the punishment of a shotgun running hundreds of rounds through it. And it's going to hold zero and not have any issues with, coming off or anything like that. So that plus, I figure, any advantage that I can have over an opponent, so if that is going to make me, if a dot is going to make me a better shooter, faster or more accurate, I'm going to take every advantage that I can. Because fighting fair is fighting stupid. And the last thing I think we have for home defense setup is a sling, or some way to kind of, retention hold your shotgun so you can do other things if necessary, right?
Yeah, I go back and forth, kind of have a love-hate relationship with the sling.
Okay.
When the sling is on the gun, it just seems like it's always in my way. It is absolutely a necessity if you're going to take a class, if you're going to the range, if you're doing any kind of training, especially if you're going to do any kind of training where you're transitioning to another firearm, to a pistol, something like that.
Yep.
There's a couple of methods where you can still hold the shotgun with one hand, maybe utilize the light that's on your long gun, and then shoot a pistol, but now you're shooting the pistol one-handed.
Right.
In the home, I personally view it as I'm at home, I'm relaxed, I'm in my lounge around clothes. I won't explain to the viewers what that looks like, but I take the sling off when I store it at home.
Okay.
I see you got some quick connects here.
Yes.
That's what I suggest, being able to quickly take the sling on and off so that it's effortless when you go to the range, when you go to a class or something like that. You put the sling on because you need it to move around the range, keep everybody safe, have a place to put it, that kind of stuff. And then me personally, when I get home, I take the sling off, tuck that away, and leave the gun, because it's back to the earlier discussion when we were talking about ammo.
Yep.
I'm pretty much fighting with what's in the gun or on the gun. The possibility is there for me to also have a pistol, but one, I may not, and two, if I've got a full shotgun worth of ammo and the fight is still going, hopefully I've made some moves and I've gotten closer to the next gun that may or may not be positioned somewhere around the house. So slings definitely have their place. You should get used to moving around it. The first time you do something shouldn't be for all the marbles, but they are really annoying and cumbersome at times.
So I like a sling setup on shotgun just because I figure there are going to be times where I might need to manipulate things such as doors, light switches, people, and I hold it in retention, but I push it against the sling, so it gives me just a little bit of extra support. But like you said, when it's stored, I usually have it bound up, with a Ranger band or rubber band or something like that on my stock, and it still can be used this way, without me having, to put the sling on.
Because you have proper setup.
Right.
Getting it on the correct side, all that stuff.
Yeah, this Blue Force Vickers sling, again, great product, but like Butch said, first time you use it should not be for all the marbles. And when you do shotgun training and home defense training, sling manipulation is absolutely going to be paramount, for training.
You mentioned being able to utilize the sling when you're having to hold a position, right? So that's, my answer is not always the best answer. Another option, like you're talking, say now you've got your hard point in your house and you're, the foe is downstairs or whatever, and so you're going to protect your family at the top of the stairs. You may be hanging out there for a long time before police can come. You may be trying to be on the phone with them. So you can come to that retention position, have an adjustable sling, you can cinch that in and help you carry some of the weight with the sling so that you can just be there for what's needed. Slings can be helpful. I don't know. What do you think?
Your mileage will vary, with slings. I like to say yes slings, Butch says no slings. I would say try it though. Before you form an opinion, always try something, see if it'll work for you. See the different methods with people who have tried it, who've trained with it. Butch doesn't like it because he's trained with it and he knows what it can do as well as what it can't do. So obviously try it, get some instruction, and see if it works for you or not.
Thanks everybody for checking out our show on home defense shotguns, possible setups. Bottom line, like we kind of alluded to earlier, anything will do if you will do. If you got a shotgun laying around, get out, get some training, figure out what it can do, figure out what it can't do, figure out what you can and can't do with it, and then start picking and choosing what you like, what features you may want to explore, whether it be a pump or a semi, slings, no slings, how you want to carry your ammo. A lot of good options. Hopefully this helps you come up with a little bit of info to lead you down the right path.
Thanks, Butch, for showing up and, giving us our insight. Butch probably shoots more shotguns than just about anybody else on the channel. So if you guys have questions or products or, more info about Butch, make sure to leave a comment down below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on anything. And if you want to see additional videos, check out one of these or one of those.
You put it right over my face?
Or one of those.
Oh.
Screw you. All right, cool. Really? Do I really look that small compared to you?
I'm a big motherfucker.
Like I look like bigger than Dave, on this, but like,
Yeah, fuck that shit. Sorry.
all right. And last thing we got are
Start
slings.
that over because I was picking my nose.
Oh, okay. No, just gotta.
Now
rub the
you
picture.
gotta do that.